Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at the Feline Utility Rovers mod, which is being made by forum user Nils277. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a whole heck of a lot of new parts for creating some pretty cool rovers, which is made all the better by the fact that this is created by the same person who brought us the Kerbal planetary base system, which personally for me is probably my favorite parts mod for building bases. And I love the fact that you can actually see some continuity between the influences of some of those base parts and now these new cool rover part designs. And that just makes me happy. And plus, it's also stock-alike, and I always enjoy me some stock-alike parts. So let's jump into the spaceplane hangar and have a gander at what all this does add. And thankfully, Nils277 is a wonderful person and gave us a custom tab. So you don't have to worry about hunting around these bits and bobs or typing anything to the search bar. We just got to click down here on Feline Utility Rover, and here we will find all of the parts to build the new Lynx rover system. And let's start by grabbing a cockpit, and it's at this point I should mention that this mod is still in early development of sorts. It's in beta, and so over the next couple of updates some of these parts may change, and of course bugs will be present now that hopefully will be fixed later on, but at the time being, even in beta, this is a pretty awesome fully fledged rover system that I've been having a lot of fun with. Now as for this cockpit, it's a pretty standard fare. We can have a minimum of 1 crew to operate, a maximum of 2. It does have its own custom internal view, which is quite nice, fuzzy dice in the windshield and everything, and of course has the pretty typical stuff of data transmitter, reaction wheel, crew report, and a 500 electric charge. Now a fun little additional feature, we have some built-in headlights down there at the bottom, so you don't have to worry about adding your own anywhere. And as for attachment points, we've got a couple on hand. We have one in the front, which is good for these trailer hitches we'll talk about in a little bit. We have 2 on the sides here, which are designed for, of course, wheels or other various parts we'll talk about. We do have an attachment point on the top for whatever you may want to put there, and of course on the back for putting in more rover parts. Now we also do have, oh boy, I've lost where it is. Here we go, Lynx remote control unit, which is an unmanned command pod with data transmitter, probe control unit, reaction wheel, SAS, and 250 electric charge if I go and grab that. So you could potentially put one of these onto there, or of course add it to any other rover, as there are a few other bits and bobs where you could place this thing. But that's still not all. In the Lynx front piece here is also an unmanned command pod, just of a different design, a bit bulkier, so say if you wanted, instead of just a piece up top, to actually build the rover from scratch to be actually remote control. If I actually rotate this thing in the correct way, there we go, perfect. It is a lovely little piece to put onto your ship, and it is, oh god, I've lost it again, there we go, unmanned command pod with the SAS and electric charge of just 50, so not quite as much as other pieces here, but a very useful thing, and does have 2 different attachment points there, which is very useful. So we've got 3 control units here, which is always nice to have to give you some options. Now the next thing we're gonna talk about here is the wheels, and I should probably grab this fuel tank so we have more to attach to, and we have 2 wheels included in this, the paw, which is more in line with the body design. As you can see right here, it just goes directly under the rover itself and has a max speed of 36 meters per second and will use 2 electric charge per second. The next design is the Talon rover wheel, which is a little bit faster at 45 and also uses 2.5 per second of electric charge, and this one as the wheel outside of the rover design, so it's a bit further from the body. So just whichever one you want to go with aesthetically, or of course if you want speed over, well, I don't know, just inline wheels, that is your choice. You have these 2. Now one thing I actually want you to kind of just remember here right now is, well, look at this blank space that we have here. Now sure, we could attach another wheel in there, but what if you don't need another wheel? you could potentially put maybe, I don't know, a canister in there, like so, again, if I rotate correctly. And wouldn't that just be cool to fill up those slots? We'll talk more about these canisters here in a second, because, well, there's a couple of them. But for the time being, let's actually dump off these wheels and, well, talk about the fuel canister that I put onto here, or specifically, the big fuel tank. Now, this thing is for, of course, if you're looking to transport resources around on a planet somewhere, and it will always have a battery of 800 electric charge, but the rest of the stuff can actually be switched between either liquid fuel oxidizer, electric charge, which then makes it a whole heck of a lot of electric charge, just liquid fuel, just monopropellant, just xenon gas, or just ore. So you can switch back and forth between these different tanks by just using these buttons and figuring out which you need, and that is a very, very useful tool to have. Now let's pop that off. The next thing we're going to talk about here is the cargo bays, of which we have 3 separate parts for this. Now we have a large cargo bay here, which does also have electric charge built in, 800. We then have a small cargo bay, which is half the size, and also half the electric charge at 400. Now these are quite fun little cargo bays, as they do have their own internal lights so you can actually see what you're doing, and the sides of them open up if you just need to get access to whatever you have in here and grab it out of there, what have you. But if, say, for instance, I don't know, maybe you want to put a tiny little rover inside of your big rover and you need to wheel it out, well, you just might need this, the Lynx Big Cargo Ramp, which again does have some electric charge, 250, and it goes right in the back there, and what this will do is if we open it up, bam, you have a cargo ramp, so you can wheel yourself in a tiny little rover or whatever in the heck it is that you're doing with this. And of course it does also have its own internal bay light, and if we close this thing, it also has taillights, and who doesn't love that? It's glorious. I love it so much. Very, very cool parts indeed. Now the next things we have here is a crew cabin, which is a great little part. It will hold 3 Kerbals inside. It will have the crew report, 800 electric charge, always good to have, and does have an internal view for your Kerbals when they're lounging about, which is always nice. Pop that off, head down here to the mobile laboratory, which of course is like any other laboratory. We got the experience management, science lab, etc. Also will hold 400 electric charge, again a custom interior, and will hold 2 Kerbals. A very, very fun piece indeed. Now, heading back up to the top, we have the Lynx docking port, because, well, remember, this is, from the same person who brought us the Kerbal planetary base system, so say you might have a base landed somewhere, and it has just your standard, regular old docking ports. Well, bam, you can, attach one of these to that and dock with that particular station. Very nicely designed part, and apparently I've put it on the wrong side. Let's flip that around. Oh, isn't that handy that it had that on there? Okay. There we go. Now it's on the correct side. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Now, if only we had that for this little trailer hitch down here, which we'll talk about that right now. Now, this is a fun little part. It is an interesting trailer hitch that comes in 3 pieces. Now, effectively, it's a docking port, but it's made to be a docking port between, say, 2 rovers, and then so one rover can tow the other. And what's fun about this is with this 3-part system, it actually moves. So it has a joint in it that will move with the rover here, so it's not just one solid piece. It looks like it's 2 pieces connected by a trailer hitch. You turn and the whole thing kind of bends, and it's awesome. Now, how you have to do it, though, is interesting. You have to take first this active Lynx hitch and attach that somewhere. Now, of course, probably would work better down in the front here at a more of a trailer height, but what the heck, we've put it back here already. And then what you're gonna have to do is inside of this active port, or active hitch rather, you need to put the hitch docking adapter. And if we just put it right here and actually just pop it the wrong way in, it's a half sphere. Now, if you pop it on like that, that is incorrect and it won't work. What you want is for the half sphere to be inside of the joint for the active hitch, as this is what you want to see. You want to see this docking bit effectively right here. And then what you'll have on the other rover is this passive hitch, which if we just sort of put it on the front here, oh, no, I meant to put it that way, you can see has that same sort of docking port design right there. And so when you go up to another trailer, they'll just hook on nicely together, and bam, you now have a main rover and a trailer, or, you know, towing a dead rover, however it may be. Now, what's fun is we also have another way to actually attach longer rovers together, giving it, or allowing it rather, to actually sway a bit when you turn, and that is through the Lynx bellowed joint. This will basically make your rover like one of those long bendy buses you see in cities, in that this bendy bit will bend. Thing is though, you need another part before it, which, here we go, the Lynx joint adapter, which does have 50 electric charge, and you attach the link joint adapter to one side, then the bellows to the center, and then another Lynx joint adapter to the other side, and then you build off of this. Now, I've actually kind of put this one on wrong way around, it would seem, because you can see at the bottom it does have that angled bit. So basically it's finishing off our drive shaft down there at the bottom, angling out, then bam, and that angling downward to then start the rest of our rover. And that is just wonderful. I really love that. Now, the next couple of parts we have here are some containers. This one is a battery container, and like I did mention, these go perfectly along the side of here, so you can have in between the wheels an extra battery, which has 200. We have a fuel canister, which is the same thing right there. A lovely fuel canister, fits in line, and again, you can resource switch it between liquid fuel oxidizer, liquid fuel monopropellant, or xenon gas just by using those buttons. We then have a sample container here, which this one's a bit more finicky. There we go, also fits in line quite nicely. Always good to have. Now, the sample container, it doesn't really have a use right now, but I have a feeling it may be compatible with some other mod out there, perhaps. Just for the moment, not really for what I have. Now, the next few things we have is a couple of ladders, 2 ladders to be specific. Now, the first ladder we have here is just simply, if I put that in the wrong way, and I keep clicking the wrong darn thing. Oh, there we go, we've got it. Now, this particular ladder right here, if we click, it's still not attached to anything. Of course it isn't, because that would make sense. Now I can't click it. Oh, yay, it's having issues. There we are, finally grabbed it. There we go, that's what I wanted to do. And when attached, it will just pop out a ladder out the bottom, which I'm having trouble clicking. Oh, Lord. You know, let's grab another ladder. Let's just grab another ladder right here. And boom. Better. Extend a ladder out. There we go. And this is perfect for if you have those paw wheels, which fit in line with the rover design. But if you go for the Talon ones, remember, those kind of go outside of the body. Well, that's why we also have this other ladder here, the Lynx Ladder with platform. If we pop that there and extend the ladder, pop, there we are, it extends out a platform, and then the ladder goes down, so you have plenty of room between the wheels and the ground, so you don't actually run into them, which is always good. The next part we have is a rear airlock, which is great for if you do have, say, the crew compartment back here. You can then get Kerbals in and out of this bit, which is always nice, and it does actually hold a singular Kerbal, which is interesting. Now, the next thing we have is a rear fuel tank, which if you don't want an airlock, you can always, replace it with a fuel tank. Again, with the standard sort of fuel switching here. We have the custom taillights. It does have a ladder you can climb up to get to the top of the roof, which is always handy. And I think this is the next part we have here, a service bay, which is, pretty standard service bay. You open it up and you have areas to put experiments, etc. on either side. A very useful tool. The next is a Lynx fuel tank, which is just a smaller version of the larger one here, which I should have looked at earlier when we looked at the big one, but I forgot the small one existed. And again, it holds battery and will switch between the various resources as your heart desires. Always good. And the final part is the structural decoupler. And this thing, if we just pop it onto the roof there, well, this is exactly what it says. It's a structural decoupler. So you can use this to, say, attach it to your rocket or what have you, just so you have a place to attach this thing to other stuff and then decouple. Now, it's kind of an awkward shape, and it has some places where it fits better than others on this design, but overall, you'll definitely find a good use for it in helping you get to other planets. Now, there are parts planned for the future, including things like, solar panels, fuel cells, landing engines, so you can, make these things get onto a planet more easily. But for the time being, this is what we have, and I actually should mention before we go outside to take a look at things, that all of it will fit inside of, there we go, if we just close that, the Mark III cargo bay. So it all fits quite easily inside there without much issues, which is always cool and good, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to move things around. Now, let's head outside where I've got a couple of these things in place to show you the hitches and joints and just how these look with some, just basic building. Now let's go take a look at the cargo rover that I have first, and we'll just load this up real quick. Now this one is technically 2 rovers attached by a hitch, and I have that Lynx front, which makes this one its own robotic rover if it so desires, but right now they're of course attached by a trailer hitch. And if we just decouple them, there we go, we can go forward with this one, which of course has our crew in here and is carrying a crap load of fuel. But say if we needed to tow this thing, for instance, if its autonomous modes weren't working anymore because it ran out of battery power, we could just back this thing up and wait for it. Bam, there we go, they have docked. And if we, actually gotta turn on and off the brakes because that one still had the brakes on. If we move forward, you'll notice it works still like the same old rover would, in that it's basically just one giant long thing. But if we stop real quick and go down here to this active trailer hitch and hit unlock, what this is going to do is it's going to allow the hitch to sway back and forth. So if we do that, you can kind of see it tense. It released from being tensed up. And now it's going to be only slight because of the trailer hitch doesn't allow much movement. But you'll notice if we now move forward with the brake off, we get a little sway. The trailer moves a little bit after the front does. It's not very noticeable in this one just because of the nature of the trailer hitch. It doesn't give you a lot of space to move. But if we go over here where I have a lovely other rover here, which is joined by the bellow joint, you can definitely tell on that one. Now you can adjust on these how much sway you do have. So we have the spring and damping here. So you can adjust that to your heart's content to find exactly what you want. But it's cool that this gives you a little bit more sway to things. And we'll just park that up. And of course, if we got here and had something to deliver, bam, there we go. Cargo bay out. Ah, lovely, and we can deliver whatever we needed to. Now, if we go over to this ship, and this is our bellow joint, which actually I already have unlocked, so let us go forward. And you'll notice, like say when I brake or move forward, that it bends and flex right there. Again, it's a little bit, not the most noticeable thing in the world, but it's more noticeable than the trailer hitch. And if we turn, oh boy, there we go. You can see this one turning a lot sooner than that, and it gets that lovely bend to things. And I really do love this part. I mean, it's a simple little thing to have this bend, but that's just cool. It's an awesome thing. Now, I should note right now that one of the known bugs at the moment is that the joints and hitches won't work if you have Kerbal joint reinforcement installed, which kind of makes sense. The whole point of the Kerbal joint reinforcement is to make sure that your parts don't bend and subsequently rip apart. So yes, at the moment, if you have that installed, it won't work. It's being worked on, so hopefully that'll be fixed in the future. Now let's actually take a look at the internals that we have here. We'll start with Jebediah in the cockpit. Got the lovely fuzzy dice there and a beautiful internal cockpit view here. I love the pressure gauges of everything. A very, very cool, very nice place. Wrong button, of course. I always hit the wrong button. There we go. And excellent. We have, science and games back there, fusage, etc., and just a lovely little place. Now back here is the crew cabin, where we've got a little cup of coffee, some medical supplies, a lovely window there, other windows there, and of course, remember, 3 different seats for this one. We got the beds over there with a little teddy bear, because who doesn't love that? And of course, a computer for use, and the other seat. And then finally, we have the laboratory. So we do got a lovely little setup here, microscopes, computers, sciencey equipment, etc. Very nice in here. I do enjoy it. So very good little internal views for all of these. You gotta love the parts, and especially, I love the jointed hinges, especially the bellow one. It's just so fun having that swing around. But yeah, that is the Feline Utility Rovers mod. That's pretty much all I have to show you here with this. Overall, it's a wonderful system. I really do enjoy all the parts. They are very cool looking, very useful, and as I said, there are more to come in the future. The mod maker is also willing to add support for like life support systems, Kerbal attachment and Kerbal inventory systems, Pathfinder, and a whole load of other things. So if you would like to check out this mod for yourself, and I would definitely suggest that you go and do, you can take a look at the link in the description, as always. But yes, that is gonna be it for this one today, so I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for the next one. But until that time, thank you for watching, my friends, and as always, have a good one.